Hi, this is Dominic from Paphos Life, and today we're starting in Kathikas and we're driving to Corallia Bay via the little village of Akoursos. Before we get into the centre of Kathikas, I think I'll stick up the map. So here's a map of most of southern Paphos, and we'll be starting in Kathikas and driving down into Akoursos, and from there we'll be continuing onto the main coast road from Paphos to Corallia Bay. And we'll be driving through Corallia Bay Beach, and finally stopping at Corallia Beach. So let's have those titles. Okay, now if you're driving here for the first time, you might find that this particular section of road is very slippery. Or at least it sounds that way because it makes your tyres screech. Anyway, we're going to be going left here at the church. Kathikas itself is a very nice village. It's well worth visiting, especially if you want somewhere to eat, because there's got to be a dozen restaurants here in total. So you'll find something for all tastes. And you'll probably find something that's definitely open as well. Right, up here on the right, we'll soon be coming to the fairly recently built Akoursos Visitor Centre. There it is, there's those tulips there, that's the Akoursos Visitor Centre. Well worth a visit. The opening hours are, let's look that up quickly, I had it on the screen a minute ago. Monday to Friday, 10 AM to 4:30 PM, and Saturday, 10 AM to 3 PM. Easiest way to park is to turn right just before the building, and you'll find that there's a huge parking area just behind it. It's not the hugest museum in the world, 3 or 4 rooms, but it does have some nice displays of the flora and fauna of the Akoursos area, so it's worth your time. Right, we're heading through Kathikas now, and we'll be coming into countryside soon, before winding down the hill to Akoursos. And remember, if you like our content, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, as it really does help YouTube promote us. And if you want to help us financially, then go to our paphoslife.com/coffee page, and you can either send us coffee or click on one of the affiliate links. Now, there is a legend associated with the village of Akoursos involving 2 caves. You'll see them soon enough. Well, you'll see one of them anyway. The other one's further down. Anyway, this is the legend itself. Only a short distance to the north, along the windy road that curls up the hills, there is a plateau to the rear of a mosque. This plateau, named Leonitouts, which is Greek for Hollow of the Fight, was made famous by being the central battleground between 2 rival kings. Here, King Rose Petros, defending the village of Akoursos, defeated the aggressor, the king of Inia. However, upon walking away from the slain king of Inia, King Rose Petros was shot in the back by an avenging archer of King Inia's troop. King Rose Petros was later buried in the cave of Ampa, which lies to the top of a cliff, whereas King Inia was buried in cave Papadimantra, which now is home to herds of goats. Time, it would seem, favours the benevolent. Now, I've been to the second cave where the King of Inia ended up, and I can confirm it does actually stink of goats. So there you have it. Now, we'll see the cave where the good king's buried shortly, but before that we've got a few vineyards to drive through. And there's not a lot to say about vineyards, so I'll talk about something else now. I'm going to talk about geocaching just for a minute. The basic idea is to have individuals or organisations set up caches all over the world and share the locations of these caches on the internet. GPS users can then use the location coordinates to find the caches, and once found, the cache may provide the visitor with a wide variety of rewards. Well, that's how it was at the start. These days, the rewards are minuscule, if anything. When I started, I picked up loads of good things. I got the Best of Blondie CD, numerous paperbacks, and of course I'd leave stuff as well, but these days that doesn't tend to happen. It's more about how many caches you can find, which is a bit of a shame in my opinion. But the reason I'm mentioning geocaches is, well, for two reasons. Firstly, I've got one fairly close to here in one of the surrounding hills. But secondly, before we moved to Cyprus, one of the best ways we found of exploring new areas was to look up the geocaches that had been placed there and go and find them, because they normally get placed in fairly interesting places that you wouldn't necessarily find in any tour map. So we ended up in all sorts of locations, and also they'd have been put by people who wanted you to get there normally. So they'd be relatively easy to get there, or they'd give instructions on where to park, etc. So geocaching is a very good way of getting to know somewhere in an interesting fashion. And if you can forgive the fact that you'll no longer find any decent booty and you'll just be signing a little logbook, then it's good fun. For more information, you should go onto the geocaching.com website, and it's spelled geocaching.com. You can play for free, or you can, I think it's about €25 a year, subscribe, and you'll get full access to all the caches. And it's not just in Cyprus, it's, as I said before, it's worldwide, and it's well worth looking into if you fancy a bit of fun. All you need equipment wise these days is a smartphone, and you just download an app, and then you can just look up for geocaches in your area. Simple as that. Anyway, that's enough of a plug of that. Oh look, there's a bit of traffic there, that's unusual. Which does raise another point. When you're going down roads like this, don't go top speed, because the last thing you want to do is to be driving off a cliff. You can just about see the top cave here. It's went off screen on the right there, but you'll get a much better look of it in a little while. There are also a couple of very narrow gorges around Akoursos. I've been a little way up one of them, but it was a bit of a climb, and all I've seen of it really was a film that somebody else published a few years ago, and that if you're a good climber and you fancy a bit of adventure, it's well worth a little exploration. I actually did an article on the caves of Akoursos a few years ago, and I included lots of stills from the guy's film, with his permission of course, and I'll stick up a link to that and you can see there, and it's worth trying to find his film as well. But now we're coming into Akoursos itself. It's a fairly small village. I don't know if there are any shops in it or anything. There might be. That looks like might be one there, or a tavern. That turning there will take you to Peyia, but we're not going. It's a very picturesque route as well to Peyia, but we're not going that way today. We're driving through the centre of the village. And we'll eventually end up on the coast road, but you've got a way to go yet. And we'll just get the chance to see the second cave. Yeah, the film I mentioned by the guy who went up that gorge, he also climbed up to the cave, and there it is there. That's not something I'll ever visit, but legend has it that's where they buried the good king of Akoursos, and that's how you get to that other little gorge just in there. But you have to be you have to know what you're doing basically, and I wouldn't go at this time of year because there's probably quite a few snakes around. It's worth looking at the hills on the other side of the valley here on the right, because a couple of years ago there was a big fire and that was all black. But you can see now how in such a short space of time it's all returned to normal. and have a look at it just up ahead. Yeah, all that area on the other side of the valley had been burned. It's nice to see how nature repairs itself so quickly. Right, after Akoursos, we're going to eventually come to a turning for Adonis baths. Now, this is a bit of a Marmite tourist destination. A lot of people love it, and in equal measure, a lot of people can't stand it. One of the things that puts people off is the drive to it, which is very bumpy, and it is, and I love it, but I like going off-roading, so it suits me fine. I've never been to the actual baths themselves. However, I have been upstream of it. I did an article on the place called Heaven and Hell. It's just below Cooley, or Kili, however it's pronounced. It's a village between Paphos and Strumby, and it's some amazingly beautiful countryside, and there is the tiniest gorge there, and I went exploring down it, and I couldn't believe in the middle of summer how much water there was there, and it's the same water that flows down into Adonis baths. So there's a lovely pool there, and it might be topped up with tap water, but it does have a decent source behind it, is all I'll say. So I think it might need a bit more credit than people give it. But as I said, some people really like it anyway. And I think the drive's quite fun. But we haven't reached the turning yet. There's also a little botanical garden, I think it is, along the way to it. And if you're a completist, there's also a water bottling factory up there somewhere. And another thing is that geocache I mentioned I put up there. But you have to get that from the direction of Kathikas, I seem to recall. It's a few years since I put it there. I have had great fun placing geocaches recently. Well, I say recently, in the last few years. It wasn't Heaven and Hell actually, it was Paradise and Hell. But I did a trail around there for people who you need to either be good at walking or have an off-road car. But there was another one I was going to place above the abandoned village of Kathikas. There's a rocky outcrop which you can climb up, and on top of that there's a really lovely viewpoint area, and I had stuck a tiny little geocache there, but I never got around to logging it, registering it as a cache, so no one would know it was there. And I'd lost the coordinates, so I couldn't register it. So the next time I was in the area, I went back to it, and you have to appreciate it really is in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't think anyone would have stumbled across it by accident. But I returned to the cache, and the logbook had been signed by someone saying, didn't know there was a cache here, but we'll be first to find it anyway. So when it gets registered, please acknowledge me. Or something like that anyway. I can't remember exactly what they said. But I didn't have my phone with me at the time, so I couldn't take the GPS coordinates. But anyway, the next time I returned, the cache had been discovered again, but this time it had been found probably by a hunting dog or something, and the whole thing had been just ripped to shreds. So I never did get around to actually even registering that cache. And that's the trouble I have if I stick them in out of the way places. I think that's the Adonis bath turning just there on the left. We've just gone past it. And you got I think it's the Mavrokilimos reservoir on the left there too as well. But yeah, the problem with putting an out of the way geocache in Cyprus, I've discovered, is that because they have hunting here with hunting dogs, if you're not careful, it'll get discovered by a hunting dog who will just rip through it because it's following the scent. So you've got to be very careful about what sort of cache you place and where you place it. But yes, I was amazed that someone had found it though. Even thinking about it now, how on earth? Because it was in the middle of a little bush on the side of a hill, which you wouldn't think anyone would bother going to. I was completely mistaken. Anyway, I have, I don't know how many, I must have placed about 20 caches in Cyprus so far, so there's a few of them are by me. But there are lots all over the place now. And we're just coming up to the Akoursos and Peyia green point. And there are 5 green points throughout Paphos region. And they're basically places, they're like the municipal dump you get back in the UK, where you take stuff to be recycled, and everything from green waste to plastics, wood, metal, even like take your old batteries or your old kitchen oil. And you can just see that through there, and that's the turning for it straight ahead, and it goes on there. Most of them are open 6 days a week, less hours on Saturday, and closed on Sunday. Some of them also only have half-day opening on Wednesdays. But if you go into our business directory, in the green points section, you'll see them all there. I'll put a link in the text because it's always good to encourage people to use them. There's too much dumping goes on. And Cyprus. Right, we're just coming down. Soon we're going to be at the first cave, which if you remember is where the king of Inia was buried, and is now a goat farm, which is very smelly. Not quite there yet. Incidentally, most of this route forms part of the first Cyprus road trip eBook that we published a few years ago, and it is well worth getting on Amazon. It's only $2.50 if you want basically a handheld while you go exploring. There are 5 ebooks in total, but the first one started off in Paphos and drove up the coast road until the junction we're just going to hit here, and went up to Kathikas, and then from there it went more around central Paphos. And it's a lovely drive and well worth it. So look out for it on Amazon, use the links that I'll put up somewhere, and do yourself a favour and get a hold of a copy. And ahead you've got the view of Peyia Bay, which one day may host Paphos Marina. So please don't hold your breath on that one. If it does ever happen though, this view will be somewhat different. And I think Inia Marina looks good, but I also think, Inia Marina was more out on a limb than this area. And if you build it just there, then you're going to have big issues with the central road from Paphos to Corallia Bay, because they'll have a big increase in traffic there. I'm just coming down onto that now. And we'll be turning right here. And before you get to the main strip, on the left is the entrance to the Corallia Bay Leisure Park. That's just what that thing is there we're going past on the left now. And that will be well worth exploring, well, by the summertime when it's completely finished, I'd imagine. And this is turning to Corallia Bay Strip, the roundabout. Still closed at the moment because they're doing their renovating work. And that should be finishing soon. And to get to a lot of the restaurants at the moment that are open, you just take this little turning here. See where all the signs are pointing. Go there. Now you have Philippos supermarket, and behind that there's Philippos DIY, and I think there's even Philippos home furnishing now. The empire is certainly growing. They're very popular with all the locals there. And now we're going to be turning at this roundabout, which is how you'd get to Coral Bay Beach and Corallia Beach when the strip's not open. And we'll just be coming up to Cali Resort and Spa, which is in the process of being renovated. Used to be Crown Resort Horizon. And as I said in the previous film, if you're due there in the next couple of months and you want to find out how the work is going, etc., you're much better off contacting them yourself and asking them, rather than relying on third or fourth hand accounts on social media. I mean, I couldn't tell you how it's going on because virtually all the work is happening inside. And we're coming up to T Junction now, and the Coral Bay Strip is on the left, which obviously you can't go up there at the moment because it's all closed off. But we're going right anyway. And our first port of call will be dropping in to see Coral Bay Beach. And if you took the diversion through around Coral Bay, you'll come out just there, by the way. And here's the turning of Coral Bay Beach. I do believe they've improved the track down to the beach itself here as well. I'm driving my 4x4, so it didn't bother me anyway, but this used to be quite bumpy. Because what happens basically every time it rains in the winter, a little stream forms and it washes away bits of the road, causing little canyons down the centre. And if you're in the middle of the countryside as well, you'll also have to contend with tractors driving and leaving big tyre ruts. But there's Coral Bay Beach, and the sunbeds are out now. Not all of them, but some of them are. And it was quite early when I was here, so there's no one swimming yet. When we used to visit Coral Bay on holidays, we would normally go to the left-hand side of the beach, purely and simply because that's the one we first went to, and it just stuck with us. I'm sure other people have the right-hand side as their favourite. It's funny how we get territorial. Now we're leaving Coral Bay Beach. And if you're visiting yourself, you could make your life a bit easier, assuming you don't have a lot to carry, and just park up this area instead. But as I said, I was in the 4x4. Right, our final destination is Corallia Beach. And in the minds of a lot of people, Corallia Beach is nicer than Coral Bay Beach. It's also easier to get to if you're getting on the bus, purely and simply because the bus, well, it does stop outside Coral Bay Beach, but it terminates at Corallia Beach, so you'll know exactly that you're getting off at the right place. But if you're driving, you need to turn left following that brown sign. That points to a little museum and an archaeological site, and it's not the best archaeological site in the world. I went there and they got this lovely room there. It's underground and it's this dome, and it's got an amazing echo in it, but it's just empty. There's nothing in it to see. And there are a few like little ruins topside, but nothing compared. I mean, you'll see more in the little ruined area behind the restaurants at Paphos Harbour. And they don't charge you to see that. But it's a good place to go if you want to fly a drone. That's where I fly my drone from. And the Thalassa Hotel is actually open now. Again. That's good because there had been a rumour, one of the many bullshit rumours that it was going to be used to house refugees. I think just about every hotel that's being renovated has that rumour attached to it. So whoever's starting these rumours, well, someone must know who's starting them. Could you just call them out and tell them that they're an idiot? Because it's not happening. It's now a hotel again. And on that bombshell, we will leave you at Corallia Beach and say farewell.